That is why you fail.
I'm just thinking of saying a line like that.
English language teaching under the covers.
Hello and welcome to ELT Under the Covers. May the 4th be with you.
Teachers we are. React to things on the internet we do. Many things to you I must teach.
I'm Neil of Team Teacher.
Hello everybody, it's Professor Leach.
Today we are actually looking at Star Wars. Specifically, we are going to be looking at Yoda as a teacher. Is he a good teacher? Let's find out.
Use your feelings, you must.
So we're going to watch these great, excellent scenes from Star Wars today and look at it through the lens of a teacher doing an observation. What would we do if we were observing a teacher doing this and acting like Yoda does? Would he be immediately removed from the classroom? Let's find out, I guess.
Use the Force.
Oh, fuck.
The storm. Feel it.
I'm instantly thinking how cool this is, but also thinking as a teacher, what the hell is he doing? So the lesson there is what? Focus. What's the lesson aim, Neil? What's his lesson objective?
He's trying to get him to use the Force. Use the Force. Instructions on how to do that.
It's about concentration. So what's going on is that Luke is thinking about his friends who he feels are in trouble and he wants to go and help them. And Yoda is trying to teach him the value of concentration. And in order to do that, he gets him to stack some rocks with his mind while doing a load of other stuff, which looks kind of funny. He's doing like a handstand and Yoda's sitting on him or whatever. And then he says, concentrate, because Luke's getting distracted by these kind of dark thoughts or something. I think that's what's implied. They never explicitly show that, but
Yeah.
you know, they kind of have the moment in the cave and he talks about how he has to save his friends and stuff like that. That's what's going on. So the lesson is put that out your mind and focus on what you're doing. But he doesn't really give him a how. This would be like a language teacher, like having a student and they're talking and making all these mistakes and you're like, no, don't make mistakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like speak with correct grammar. Like that's the objective.
It's like
that's the
it's like they're going
that's how he's doing it.
Asking a simple, it'd be equating it to, because Luke's kind of, he's really a beginner. Yeah, I don't know. You know, something beginner wise, we would go super simple and be like, oh, okay. How are you?
I think I would call him an initiate at this stage.
Yeah,
He's done a few things.
Maybe saying, getting them to answer a question. So, if you're in a language class, you get someone to say, "Oh, where are you from?" And then that's it. You don't give them a structure how to answer, or kind of like some pre-activities of that they're able to find out the answer through discovery or something like that. He's basically he's there going, "Where are you from?" And then the student's going, I'm and
then he's like, no.
Yes.
So I think in Yoda's defense, maybe he's seeing we're looking at this more as a trainer. He's being more of a trainer at this stage. So this is more like a guy down the gym, you know, kind of going like, come on, 10 more reps. You know, it's like the Rocky guy, but he's training mental skills instead of physical skills. So maybe that's where we're coming from here.
I wouldn't even say with that. I mean, you know, the whole Yoda thing is kind of Taoist, and you know, anyway. So you know, I mean, I've done meditation, I've done yoga, I've been to kind of like courses with it, and the trainers, you know, like if you're looking at talking about concentration, because that's kind of like what meditation is, right? You know, you'll hear them say you will have these thoughts in your mind, just let them pass. That's instruction. It's not just say they don't just go meditate. You know, or when you're at the gym, they don't just say one more rep. They say focus on tightening this particular muscle or something like that. They give you a step back,
remember your legs,
and you know, they give you a breakdown, and breathe, and they kind of guide you through that. He's not guiding shit.
No, he's not. Concentrate, do it. Well, as we see in the next scene, there's kind of a quote relating to that, isn't it, about doing it?
Okay, yeah, maybe we should jump in.
Indeed, yeah, indeed. I guess if we want to be charitable about it, we could be saying that maybe he's already given him all the instruction, and this is Luke's kind of, you know,
that's true.
Test,
that's true.
Midterms, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's already been doing some sort of activities in this. We're just kind of seeing him in the production or practice stage or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
They don't explicitly say that though. We're being charitable by saying that, I think. So, but it could be the case. Okay. Are we going to move on to the next one then?
Yeah, sure.
No. We'll never get it out now.
So certain are you? Always with you what cannot be done. Do you nothing that I say?
Master, moving stones around is one thing. This is totally different.
No different. Only different in your mind. You must unlearn what you have learned.
I think it might be worth going through this one piece by piece, like
Okay.
stopping it there and talking about it a little bit.
Sure.
Because we've definitely got something better here, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
We've got some stuff going on. We have a student who is expressing a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the teacher going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
So he is giving him some teaching here, and he's doing it through analogy.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about size and himself.
Mm-hmm.
Judge me by my size, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, why do teachers do that, and what's the use of that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because it engages your mind when you teach by analogy.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things it does is if you just tell someone, like, let's say, for example, Yoda just said to Luke, don't judge things by their size, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing he could do. But it's unlikely to be that convincing, and it's unlikely to stick, because it's just like, I'm just telling you what something is, and I'm expecting it to stick with you for some reason. And any good teacher knows that hardly ever works. But by using an analogy, that's one technique where someone has to think a little bit and go, oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, Yoda's small. Oh, he's powerful. So
There's an element of discovery of inductive kind of active learning to it when people use analogies and metaphors and stories, because the person has to kind of work out what it is that they're the actual point, the learning with it, and it kind of then there's ownership given to that.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's it. So I think there's something interesting going on there. And then I feel like he goes off track a little bit. I'm just trying to think exactly, what was that last line that he just said then? Hang on.
Only different in your mind. You must unlearn what you have learned.
That. fuck is that? You must unlearn what you have learned. The stuff before that, I like that. Only different in your mind. I don't like that because he's just telling him.
Yeah.
He's just saying only different in your mind, right? So that's just like me saying to a student, no, don't use the present perfect for that. Use past simple.
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to stick. That's not good teaching. You can't just tell them. 1 + 1 = 2. But why, teacher? And how do I know? It just does, all right? Shut up. What? You know, show me some apples. And, oh, look, here's one, here's one. You put them together and there's 2. Da-da. Or even better, do something more complex where someone's learning by discovery, as you say.
Yeah.
Unlearn what you've learned. I mean, we can analyze that. We can think about it. Maybe that's the idea there. That would be nice if Luke had a partner that he could discuss it with. What do you think that means?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Just call Leia in.
It would be
What
kind
did
of
he
weird
mean
as a
by
teacher.
that? I
See,
kind
the
of
thing
feel
is, we
like,
do-
I mean, and, I think what he's kind of touching on is, you know, like, is trying to remove limiting beliefs or what have you. But,
Yeah.
you know, you don't you don't remove limiting beliefs by going, I'm going to remove my
Remove those
limiting
limiting
beliefs.
Damn it. Yeah. Imagine that. You've got a student who keeps saying, yesterday I wake up at 5 o'clock. I have breakfast. What did you have for breakfast yesterday? Yesterday I have eggs and cheese or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Mixing up the tenses and then you just say, no, don't do that. Don't say present simple when you're talking about the past. Instead, say this. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't stick. It doesn't engage the student. Now, we do what he's doing there. If there is the idea that Luke should think about this, we do that actually, don't we, as teachers? But
Yeah.
the way we do it is we reference someone else, right? So we say, hey, look at this quote by Einstein. The most powerful force in the universe is compound interest, or whatever the stupid quote is. Discuss with a partner. What do you think that is? Right? That's a viable activity because it involves discussion and thinking, and people engage with
Yeah.
the quote. But you don't be like, hey, yo, I say don't use present simple in the past. Now, what do you think that means, Neil? What the hell? You quote yourself and then the students have to talk about it? Maybe, you know, a grandmaster guru can get away with that. Maybe that's the thing that I'm missing here with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like it. Didn't particularly like it as a kid, but it does make you think at least. And as you say, it's kind of Taoist, isn't it? So
Yeah.
maybe that's sort of the point. The methodology relies on a student who is going to intellectually really work with what you give them.
Yeah.
And in reality, most students aren't like that.
No, I think it's kind of the archetype with Yoda. Is there's a lot of religion around it, and it's kind of that old style of religion where you're kind of, I guess, more Eastern, you know, to an extent Western, where in the ancient past the idea was that when you were a student and you were a scholar of religion, so it was kind of like these were your studies, so you would spend so much time going over, you know, these religious, you know, Buddhist, Taoist, whatever texts, and also and you know, kind of like have discussions and really try and understand what does this mean, or even, you know, even looking at the Bible and stuff like that. So it's kind of like it's a lifelong subject, and you know, maybe the answers aren't you know, two or past simple. It's
Right.
it's your own interpretation,
Right.
but that interpretation gives you a deeper understanding of the whole, because, you know,
Yeah.
I think generally that's what it is. You know, you don't go to the Bible and go, I just want to learn to be I just want to learn how to be good with this set of people. What chapter's good for that? It's a whole encompassing ideology. Duh. But yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying there, and it that obviously relies on extreme dedication from the student, and I really feel like that's where the difference is coming in here.
That's where I was going to come back was, I mean, it's kind of a weird thing that we have when we're teaching languages is that we could solely teach people to just use the present, the simple future, and simple past, and they might be able to get away with a lot and communicating basically in English, but they might not even learn the present perfect or conditionals or anything like that, and they wouldn't need to really to kind of communicate basically, but so we could kind of teach these component parts. Now, the purpose of what we do is to help someone communicate, but there kind of gets to a point as well where it's kind of like the language doesn't just become about teaching the language to communicate, but also it can become a subject in and of itself. Like there's a lot of I've got a lot of students that maybe study English, not so much because they want to communicate in English, that they do, it's a component of it, but also they're just really fascinated with language and really fascinated with the English language and the whole subject around that. So I would like to see Yoda and religious teachers kind of do what we do in like break parts of their ideology down and just teach little components of that would be really interesting. But that's we're going tangential, and that's not what we're supposed to be doing today.
Yeah, I agree. So just to kind of expand on the little point I was making about dedication,
Yeah,
I think that maybe it's kind of a barrier to entry thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yoda doesn't want to waste his time on someone who isn't ultra dedicated.
Oh,
So he's
Good point.
dropping these things, and he expects Luke to do the work. He's not going to feed it to him, right? Whereas our situation is basically never like that, is it? I mean, we never get a student, as language teachers and as any teacher really. Maybe in some ways this feeds into the idea of university professors, because university professors, and the criticism that we had of them is that they often do treat their students like that. I am the sage on the stage.
Yeah.
You're coming to me. You have to have the dedication. So I'm not going to do the work for you. I'm just going to tell you stuff, and you're going to have to work with it and figure it out. Whereas the way that everyday teachers have to teach is we have to do it in a way that engages with the students and has the best chance of success, regardless of their level of dedication. Even though dedicated students will always outperform students that aren't dedicated, that's guaranteed pretty much.
yeah.
That
It's
natural differences in intelligence aside.
It's interesting. I would definitely agree, and I would definitely say that Yoda takes a didactic approach. It's very teacher centric, and it makes sense in terms of what you explain with equating him to a university lecturer who's highly knowledgeable, and people are paying to acquire the knowledge that he has. So he's only got a limited amount of time, so therefore he has to be picky with his students. But it's so funny because the more it's like that, the more it becomes less focused on the student and more focused on the teacher. And we both know that for learning, it's better if it's student centric.
Yeah.
So it's like the more difficult the subject gets, the less easy the more difficult it is for the student, not solely because the knowledge is more difficult, but because the knowledge is more difficult, that the learning, it's less inclined to be work well with a student-centered pedagogical approach.
The pedagogy is less sound.
Yeah.
And Yoda obviously doesn't know a great deal about pedagogy, or doesn't care. But he does care, because we see him get frustrated at Luke.
Yeah.
We can see Yoda actually gets frustrated with Luke. So he gets frustrated with Luke. Now, where does that frustration come from? He's thinking, I want Luke to succeed, and Luke doesn't succeed. Maybe a bit of teacher training is needed here, Yoda. Might have to come in for a bit of feedback. Don't know. There's my perspective.
I agree. I agree. I think we should carry on, though.
Yeah, let's carry on.
All right, I'll give it a try.
No. Try not. Do. Or do not. There is no try.
See, it's funny because watching that scene, I fucking love that line. I love that scene. You know, I've actually said that quote on nights out and stuff like that. But it's a shit thing to say as a teacher. It just means nothing. It means nothing, and it's totally not useful at all for the student.
Well, it's really harsh if you think about it, because if we give a student a line to say, you know, like a structure to say, you know, like, I have a pen. Oh, you can't see it. There you go. I have a pen, and they say, I a pen, or something like that. You'd be like, that's incorrect. You could say that's incorrect. You're either correct or you're incorrect. There's no in between. And yeah, I agree with that point, but it's really harsh that you do or do not. Yeah, you're either doing it or you're not doing it. But you know, disregarding the effort is I don't think it helps from a teacher standpoint.
It's very religious philosophical, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's not something you can really rationalize, this idea of do or do not. And even if the expectation is that Luke should contemplate this on a deep level in his subconscious, I mean, it's not useful teaching. Can you imagine as well that the student's just about to do, okay, your student's just about to go in for a speaking exam, and they're like, oh, I'm going to give this my best shot. And you're like, no. Best shot? Pass or fail? There is no best shot.
But here is my issue as well with this, is it bleeds into this public school standardization idea of pass or fail, and it really isn't like that, especially with with language teaching and language and communication. There are so many different ways to express that you're happy or sad. There's no right or wrong way. There's no right or wrong way to use English to an extent. You know, there's just different ways of doing it. There's no right or wrong way to work out a math problem. It's, you know, there's a right or wrong answer, but you can come to that conclusion on, you know, like what's, you know, 1 + 5. You know, there's so many different ways that you can kind of add that up. You know, there's good longer ways and there's shorter ways, and there's different ways of approaching it and equating it with apples and goats and what have you. But, you know, like this whole reductive idea of this or that, I don't think it helps, and I think it just adds frustration to both the teacher and the student, because the student's trying to aim for this idea of what's the do or the do not in the teacher's mind, and they don't know that. And the thing is, you know, it might not be right.
I just had a little realization actually when you were talking about that. which is, it made me wonder. I wonder if Han Solo is a better teacher than Yoda, because it reminded me of when, like, Luke is like, they're getting chased by the Star Destroyer in the Millennium Falcon, and they're trying to go to light speed, and Luke's like, "Come on, like, get on with it," or whatever, and Han's there like tapping away, and he's like, "Hey, going to light speed isn't like dusting crops, kid. You've got to do calculations because you might run into this or run into that." Yeah, it's personalized example. Ain't like dusting crops, kid. Yeah, it's kind of a joke, really. But well, there might be an argument there that he's given a personalized example. He's personalizing it to Luke to say, look, you don't know anything about how hyperdrives work, but I can tell you that it's more complicated than something that you do know, which is dusting crops. But he's also kind of just being an arrogant prick, isn't he? Should we move on?
Yeah, let's keep going. It just, in HD, he looks so much like a puppet.
The way his ears move a little bit, yeah. I love it though. I'm slightly aware that we should sort of talk over this a little bit, although it pains me to do so just because it will avoid the automatic copyright that might come.
Yeah, Disney actually pretty good with allowing that.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. How about that?
I can't. It's too big.
I'm not going to do that joke.
Judge me by my size, do you?
Oh, there we go. There's no one.
And where you should not. For my ally is the Force. And a powerful ally it is. Life creates it. Makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us. And mine.
So this is a bit of chalk and talk here from Yoda.
Yeah. Sage on a stage.
That's it.
Not this
He's telling him stuff.
You must feel the Force around you.
You must study your vocabulary and use your vocabulary notebook.
Everywhere. Yes.
Even English is everywhere. It's
English
in your
is everywhere.
TV.
Life creates it.
It's in your radio. It's in the books. It's on the signs that you read.
English is my ally, and a powerful ally it is. Judge me by my Cambridge dictionary, would you? Okay, we can go on all day with this.
The music is perfectly timed for this. I like Luke's jacket. He doesn't wear it enough, does he? That's
kinda
just like his
small on
flight
him.
jacket. I think he basically only wears it in this scene. We've got the crescendo here. John Williams classic. So you know what this makes me think of is like, imagine if I'm there with like a bunch of Spanish students, right? And they're like, "Oh, it's very difficult, teacher. How do we pass? How pass me the Cambridge Advanced, right?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I got you, kid. You ready for this? All right, so I'm from a small town in the northwest of England, which is not too far from the Merseyside. You might know the Merseyside because it's a famous place where the Beatles are. He's just showing off, basically. He's just there, like, you're just like, hey, I'll show you how to pass Cambridge Advanced, kid.
That's exactly what I was going to point out. And not only that, but what he does is his student walks away disappointed and distraught that he's not getting it. And when he's walking away, as he's out of the sight, then he lifts up and does exactly what he's been. So he's not even modeling it to the student. He's literally showing off. He's not like, come, Luke. Come, look, watch what I'm going to do. Look, I'm closing my eyes. I'm feeling the force. No, Luke's got into the next room. He's got into the next classroom. And he's just like, do. Oh, here it is. Oh, just do it like this. And he's like, I didn't even get to see that, teacher.
It's like if a music teacher was teaching someone, they're doing do, and the music teacher goes, okay, let me show you.
We're not even showing him. He just got the teacher says the student goes to the bathroom and as he's walking back from the bathroom, he just hears the teacher belting out some sort of Beethoven or something like that.
That's it.
And then the student comes into the classroom and the teacher's like, yeah, just do it like that. I'm like what? I just heard the tail end.
Oh dear. I think that Yoda's gonna have to be put on a personal improvement plan. Yoda, I'm gonna have to go ahead and put you on a personal improvement plan. And then we've got the next bit, haven't we? So here we go. The
Let's
final words of wisdom. You're so shit. That's basically what's going through Yoda's head, right?
Literal mental masturbation right now.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
That is why you fail.
I'm just thinking of saying a line like that. It's just like I can't say my name in English. That is why you I can't speak English. That is why you fail.
Teacher, I can't believe how big your biceps are. That is why you fail.
I'm just
not
very good at the times table, teacher. That is why you fail.
I have to say though, there might actually be something there, which is that Yoda's okay. Let's be charitable and say that Yoda did sort of demonstrate something.
Yeah.
He demonstrated something was possible, and then he's then pointed out to Luke that the problem is his belief, because Luke says, "I don't believe it," and Yoda's almost like, "That's right, you don't believe it, and that's what's going wrong."
Uh-huh.
So there might actually be the point that he has finally kind of shown Luke, or at least he's opened the possibility up in Luke's mind that this is a question of belief.
Oh, so basically you're saying that he's demonstrated that this is possible. So it really is down to Luke. And his beliefs, like he's demonstrated, because before we don't know if he's ever shown Luke. He's or just told him, like just imagine him with a cognac or something, like, this one time, like I raised up like 3 X-wings from this swamp and stuff, and Luke's like, that's bullshit. And he's like, show me, and he's like, nah, but I want you to do it, and I'm gonna tell you to do it. Are you ready? Just use the force. Yoda as a teacher,
he's a sage on the stage, isn't he? That's the summary.
Yeah, basically, he's chalk and talk.
You are on this council. but we do not grant you the rank of master.
He's a university lecturer with a high amount of knowledge, and the disinclination to pedagogically aid a student for whatever reason, but
He doesn't give a shit about pedagogy.
he doesn't. He doesn't. He's almost there's almost an effective filter that he's going through to, stop people learning. In a way, like he's really got to make that.
It's a challenge. He's challenging the student.
You have to actively want it, which is weird. It kind of goes against what we do as teachers, where we're trying to make something easier to comprehend and to utilize for the students. We focus on being student centered. He's making people jump through hoops.
Yeah, it's like a constant barrier to entry.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, try harder, try harder, try harder. Now, that's interesting, actually, and an interesting thing for us to do. We could do a little follow-up to this next year, maybe. We could do Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan's got a few teaching scenes with Luke, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah, that's true. And he's actively trying to engage him, if I remember correctly.
Obi-Wan sort of feels like Luke is the last hope, and in fact, spoiler alert, it's implied that Obi-Wan doesn't know about the existence of Princess Leia, which basically means that the prequels are bollocks as well. But totally bollocks, in fact, because isn't he the one who actually hands off the kids?
Yeah,
anyway.
he is.
anyway,
Series.
whatever. The prequels are bollocks. They're better than the new ones, but I'm going to get loads of hate comments doing this. I don't give a shit. The originals are fucking awesome, and that's it. There's 3 Star Wars products.
If you don't like them, this is why you fail.
Concerned. No, there's 4. There's 4 Star Wars products. There's the 3 original films, and then there's the Star Wars Christmas special, which is better than anything else that was made. And then the 3 films are better than the Christmas special. There you go. No, okay, that's going way too far. I'm just being ridiculous.
What about Yoda?
Yeah, so Yoda needs to come and have a word with the director of studies, doesn't he? Because I think this is the comparison, right? We've got Yoda. Now let's get another person who is equal to Yoda in power and knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? But is also a good teacher. Now, who's going to be training more Jedi Masters? That's the question. We don't know, actually. We can only anecdotally say, because no one's done that study at that kind of level.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we were talking about that university professor, the physics guy who innovated in the university classroom.
Mm-hmm.
You can check out that video. I don't know if you can do like
I can
check out that video. It's an awesome video. We were having a look at that, and it was great. But I don't think there's actually been a comparison at that level, And also, universities really don't like those sorts of comparisons because they're like closed institutions. Cambridge doesn't want someone to like go in and measure students studying something at Cambridge and something at Oxford in exactly the same way, apart from altering one variable and then trying to determine which way is better. They don't want that. They want to say, no, we do things totally different than Cambridge. We can't be compared like that. Yeah. That's how they want it to be.
Yeah.
But we should be comparing it, and we should be looking at, is it effective? Because if it is, then all these university professors who aren't pedagogically engaging their students are guilty of not producing the best graduates possible. And I guess that's kind of the part of our channel, isn't it? That's kind of the point of our channel in a way, isn't it? That we're trying to raise awareness of this.
Yeah, and there's always going to be pushback that if something is a high level of knowledge, it's going to be very difficult to make it more pedagogical, more student-centered, because, you know, I mean, what we talk about when we're talking about language teaching, everyone learns a language from being a baby without any instruction per se. You know, we learn it inductively, like our first language. We learn it by listening, modeling. That we're not being taught. You know, people will say, "Wow, you went to school, you taught writing, and you know, you taught all these words and stuff like that." That's bullshit. You're already learned to speak and talk and communicate in your native language. Writing's a little bit different, yeah, but you've learned to communicate through language before school, 100%. You know, maybe you can't put labels to a lot of the structures that you're using. That's fine. But, you know, if someone's talking about, if you go into a lecture that's, you know, talking about quantum physics or something like that, it's it's more difficult to say, well, you know, you can learn that by discovery or inductively. I think that you could, because at some point someone has, but their intelligence level is probably really high. But that's kind of our point in saying that, well, okay, say someone is not as intelligent, could they still learn this high level of knowledge if it was taught with a more pedagogical, student-centric bent, rather than, you know, this idea of you go to this sage on a stage and you have to actively kind of work out what they're saying? If they were better able to communicate and to teach via pedagogy, then would there be more access to this knowledge? And like you said, we don't really have so many of that kind of studies at that higher level. So
yeah, we don't, and no one has any interest in putting money into that, really, because not a lot of people who are aware of this actually have the inclination and money and interest to fund those kinds of studies, because what's the money to be made from it? I mean, even if you run a load of those studies, you might attract a bit of attention to your particular institution, but that's only if you already are the best pedagogically, and all the other institutions are going to fight against that, because of course nobody wants to have to train their professors how to teach, because professors, if you've been a professor or something for like 25 years and you've got loads of experience, I mean, that's the joke, isn't it? If you did pull Yoda into the teacher's room, he'd be like, "Don't understand the Force, you do," or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I've been doing that shit for 800 years.
yeah, trained 10 million Jedi I have.
Yeah.
He'd tell you to get screwed, and he'd be working at Princeton rather than Harvard or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's the point, isn't it? So there's a lot of difficulties there, but if we can raise a bit of awareness about that sort of stuff, then I think it's useful for people to realize. And for any non-teachers who are watching, when we say use pedagogy in a kind of our mysterious way, like use the Force, we've done loads of videos about different pedagogical techniques. There's there's more than one way to skin a cat. We've said it a million times. There's all kinds of different methodologies. A lot of our videos currently have focused on language teaching methodologies, which I certainly believe are advanced compared to general education. But we have looked at some general education stuff as well, Mr. Rogers recently, for example, and a few other things. And there's a lot to be said for when we say pedagogy. There's loads of stuff you can look at. And whatever Yoda was doing there, it would generally be frowned upon in day-to-day education.
Yeah.
In day-to-day education, that's kind of framing day-to-day education as very high level. In a high standard institution with a teacher in a classroom, that method of teaching, the way he was doing it, there would be a lot to criticize, and that's exactly what we've done.
Yes. So I think the only thing left to say in regards to Yoda and his way of teaching, and if you are one of his students, may the Force be with you. If you're looking for more information from myself, you can go to teamteacherchina.com. We've got a whole bunch of materials, PowerPoints that you can use instantly in the classroom. We've got a Team Teacher China YouTube channel where we have videos teaching you how to use those materials. Team Teacher English, where we put those materials into a video form for self-study. And Team Teacher Baby, where I take my experience as a teacher and put that into parenting.
And go to youtube.com/Professor Rich to see some English teaching. You can catch me weekly live streams on Oxford Online English YouTube channel. Oh, and also you can do a YouTube search for POG Space UK, and you would get my alpha version of my new gaming channel, which actually just have some trial content on there at the moment. You can email us here at eltunderthecovers@gmail.com if you have anything you'd like to contribute to the show.
Smash that like button, share and subscribe.
And watch 100% of the video and don't click
Exactly.
off. Thank you.
Bye.